Here we are. This is the monthly meeting of the Openground mindfulness teachers, and we're all just presenting something that is meaningful or alive in our lives. And so, yeah, tonight I'm going to talk about the breath, and I'll just go into that a bit more in a minute. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you for your effort in showing up on a Sunday evening. It's it's lovely to be here with you. And I might just mute you all. I think everyone's muted as they're coming in. Okay, all right. And, yes, and we're recording, yes, everything's set. Okay, so, tonight, I'm Jennie Broughton, and I live in Newcastle, and I work as a GP in a hospital setting, and also I've been teaching mindfulness based stress reduction for about 10 years now, and practicing meditation over most of my adult life. And it's an ongoing learning, and it's a kind of learning of humility as I keep unpacking things that, you know, kind of obvious but I hadn't got. And over the last year, I've really come to come back to the breath, and the breath has always been deeply in meditation, and the first foundation of mindfulness of the breath. And it's just come alive for me in a whole other way. And so I just want to unpack that a bit for you tonight, because it might be useful for others. And I'll begin that with a story of how that came to be, and it's always good to start with a story. And then we'll do a practice, and then I'll teach about the cycle, the breathing cycle, because it's really interesting, just, you know, how this body breathes, and how that kind of relates to our practice as well. We'll do another practice, and then I'll teach, and then we'll just explore this kind of slightly braced state we just go into as part of our being in the world. You know, it's an active place, and that there is this place where we can take a breath. So, and we might just start. We're going to probably do a bit of writing, so if you grab a pen and paper there, and we'll do a little bit of dialogue. So down the bottom left-hand corner, you'll all see there's a mute button there, and there's a video button there as well. So they're there. I can also turn you on and off. So why don't we just start with just a little arrival practice. And I kind of like to begin that just by looking around the space where I am, which is familiar, but just seeing the colours and the shapes rather than thinking about the dust that might need to be wiped off, or just noticing this space we're in and the sounds that are around us. And then either lowering your gaze or closing your eyes, whatever feels good for you in this moment. And just feeling into the body that's here, this body, with all its vibrations and warmth and coolness. Maybe noticing where you're making contact with the floor, the seat. Often a sense of pressure there. And then just the simple awareness of the body breathing. Maybe taking a couple of deeper breaths, just to settle here. And when you're ready, bringing your gaze up, or if you want to have your eyes closed, you're welcome. So, story to begin. So when I get overwhelmed, and my to-do list has got too big, and then that little extra thing lands on top, I can sometimes, you know, I'm feeling a bit at the edge, and I can go into this space of overwhelm. And I make a noise. I go, ugh. And my husband, who is Pete, he is quite good at unpacking things, and he one day says, Jen, that noise has got quite a lot of, it means quite a lot, that noise. It's got frustration, it's got irritation, I think it's got a bit of resignation in it. And as I've been also unpacking that noise as I do this talk, I also realize it's very in the body, and the noise is made up by taking a deep breath in, and then I brace my tummy, which pushes my diaphragm up, but I also close off the vocal cords. So I'm sort of compressing the chest and the ribs squeeze in a bit. So on the out breath doesn't just come out, it gets braced like this. And it's like the noise you make just before you lift something. And then there's the release. And what I realize is there's actually quite a lot of a sense of power in that bracing, which is really good when you feel overwhelmed. So our bodies kind of have this wisdom in them to just help us in situations, you know, overwhelm, feeling power, feeling effort. So another day when I was making this noise, feeling a little overwhelmed, Pete goes, "Oh, Jen, maybe you could go from to And I'll just give you some backstory to that. In that I've been listening to this teacher, Mary O'Malley, who wrote this great book called What's in the Way is the Way. And she offers a practice in this book that is about just going, just on the out breath, just letting go, releasing, and just lingering with that out breath. And so I've been talking to Pete about it and saying, it's not a great practice, and yeah, it's about the out breath, and it's about but I hadn't actually, I've been really chatting about it, great idea, hadn't actually been particularly doing it. So here's Pete offering in this moment, you know, could try this. And because I was watching him, and it's the that release, I really, you know, noticed what he was doing. And in that noticing, I could see his system releasing. I thought, oh yeah. And I tried it, and there was in that moment a sense of release, a sense of ease. It didn't sort out the to-do list, like the to-do list was the same, but in that moment there was that brief pause. And there was enough of good positive feeling in that for me to want to remember it in my day-to-day. Because during that week I was at my desk, I'd been busy on the ward writing and sorting things out. And then I was at my desk and I'm writing, and I'm sort of writing, holding my pen and, you know, shoulders up. And I just kind of noticed what I was doing. And I also noticed, tummy brace, just like that, it's kind of like a micro. And then I went, I can do that. And as I did that, I noticed also my pen grip softened as well. Like the whole system softened. So it's hard to catch the big places in life, I reckon. But what's happening with me with this practice is that more and more I'm just noticing the little moments where I'm gripping, slightly bracing, which we do just in our day-to-day, you know, busy. And just, there's that in the breath. So that's been, and there's less energy and effort in that. And so just stitching together these moments again and again. So we might do a short practice now of awareness of breath. So if you'd like to take a posture that you feel is comfortable for you, that has an uprightness and alertness, a kind of just a balance point between that effort and ease where you flop. So it's one of these balance points, and I'll be talking about this, that we have balance points in our system where it's very, like on the seesaw, where you're at the balance point, it's very easy to move up and down from there. Whereas if you're right down here, it's quite hard work to get up. But these balance points, and we can also have that a bit in our sitting. So just however that is, and you may be lying down, just whatever works for you to have that alertness. And then again, lowering the gaze or closing the eyes. It's a choice. And coming into this body here. And we're just doing a short practice of awareness of breath. And so as we pay attention into the body, just notice the points of contact. We've just been listening, so there'll be all that activity of listening, thoughts, but bringing the attention into the body, sitting here. And paying attention to maybe those areas of pressure where the pull of gravity is very evident, that where we're making contact with our seat, with the floor. Feeling the legs and torso, arms and head. However that is for you. And then becoming aware of the breath. This simple breath. Maybe choosing a point to focus, whether that's at the nose or in the chest or in the abdomen, maybe the armpits, maybe the earlobes. And if through this practice the breath doesn't feel comfortable for you, you're welcome to just have a wider sense of the body here. You're welcome to maybe just focus on the hands. There's all the feelings of vibration and warmth there. Or you can just pay attention into sounds, and that can even be just the sound of my voice. And sounds rise and pass away as well. So there's many choices. But coming in to notice a point of focus. And that's your anchor for this short practice. And just feeling this breath as it comes in, it turns, goes out. And there's a brief pause. Paying attention to the breath. Just here, just now. Coming in, turning, and flowing out, releasing. And then maybe just taking a longer breath in and a longer, slower breath out as we come to the end of this brief practice. And then I'm just going to give you 1 minute to write down what you may have noticed in that, just in that short practice around the breath and breathing. So I'll give you a minute and then we'll hear from anyone. And just finishing up there. And if anyone would like to just comment on anything they noticed. And the mute button down in the left bottom. Anyone notice anything in the body?
I suppose I noticed the period of quietness after breathing out, that there's just a stillness there, which was lovely.
Yeah, and that's actually got a name, Kev. That's called the rest point. And the rest point, and we'll go through that. And it is actually truly a rest point.
Yeah.
So did you know, you just said it felt quite lovely. Is what sort of spacious or?
Yeah, just still, yeah, and quite expansive as well.
Nice, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Kev. Anyone else?
Yeah, I also noticed when you're saying that turning around point, I felt a real flowing of my energy at that point. It was a sort of a stillness, but also a flow.
Interesting, hey? We can have stillness and flow together. Lovely. And when we pay attention in, we can really notice some things. So yeah, great. Yeah. Okay, so that's, yeah. Anyone got anything busting? Because we'll move on. Just all right, so I'll move on and we'll go now into the breathing cycle.
Chat as well, you might be listening.
Sorry, Alicia?
Some of us are making our comments in the chat. You might be.
Oh, okay. I noticed, thank you, keeping me online. I noticed the feeling of the breathing out in my legs. So yeah, we can really, where does our breathing end? And that's really can be a great exploration. Okay. All right, great. Oh, hang on. No, there's a whole list there. I'm on it now. Becoming aware of tiredness and stillness. Yeah. And we can have more than one thing happening too. Some things can come forward, backwards. So yeah, great. Good noticing. So the breathing cycle. Now the breathing, it's an exquisite process within our body. And our breath is embodied. It is within the body. It's not something separate. And we first start making these movements of breathing in utero, in the womb. And these first movements, around 20 weeks and earlier, are just these practice movements in fluid. And the first one is just this in-breath, just practicing. And then by the time we're born, these movements are regular. And we're born, and there's that first expansion of the lungs, that big first in-breath, which is the hardest breath we take. So all the lungs are expanding for the very first time. And we go through our lives. And we breathe, we sigh, we cough, we laugh, we cry, we get caught in our breath, our breath slows, our breath speeds up. And our breath mostly is in this tidal breath, this just gentle up and down, and it's happening automatically. And then we move to the end of our life, and our last breath is that exhale as we let go of this life. And this is our journey, and our breath bookends us with the in-breath and the out-breath and all those breaths in between. And it's very intimately and deeply wired into our bodies, so that our breathing center, which is at the base of our brain, is connected into our joints and our muscles, our gut and our heart. It's connected into our emotions and our thoughts, because it's about our oxygen supply, and our cells need oxygen. It's part of their fuel. And we also need to breathe off carbon dioxide. And in that cycle also, we're so connected. The trees are breathing in carbon dioxide and they're breathing out oxygen. So there's these lovely circles going on as well with breathing that are bigger than us. And so this intimate connection and awareness in our breathing center has to be connected in with all of this, because it has to anticipate how much oxygen we need. It's very practical. And so if we're even just going to exercise, thinking about going to exercise, we start taking deeper breaths in preparation for that. So our breathing kind of knows what we're up to. It knows when we're awake. It knows when we're asleep. And in that sleep, we go through different breathing phases into a deep, quiet phase. And you can notice that sometimes in meditation when you really start to quieten down the system's quietening down. So it predicts, and it's constantly modulating. And it's about our oxygen exchange. And I'm just going to show you here. It's also called the tidal breath. And I love this, the tidal breath. And it is like the sea, you know, on a calm sea where the breath's just going in and out. We'll pause in and out. We'll pause in and out. And then there's often a bigger wave comes in and out. And we do that as well. Every 10, 20 breaths, we just take this bigger breath. We're not really aware of it, but we expand our chest, like everything gets a bit of a stretch and open at that point, and then out. A sighing breath, it's called. So our tidal breath, and this is what we're doing when we're just resting, just quiet. We're going in, there's a turn, and then down and out. And this is the rest point we were talking about, Kev, that you were noticing. This rest point here. And then we come in. And when that breath is coming in, the breathing center at the base of the brain is sending all these messages down to the muscles that control the breathing. So there's a lot of chat down to the chest and the diaphragm, and the muscles are contracting. And when the chest contracts, I'll just bring this down a bit. When the chest contracts, the ribs lift up and out. And when the diaphragms, which normally sit at the bottom of the ribs, when they contract, they push down into the abdomen, and the abdomen comes out. The soft abdomen comes out, contrary to how we're told in our society to hold our tummies in. The out breath, tummy comes out. So on this in breath, the respiratory centers, the breathing centers sending these messages down to the muscles, they're activating, there's some effort, there's an expansion, can be a sense of spaciousness, and the oxygen flows, the air flows into the lungs as the lungs expand. And that's all happening on the in-breath. And then the respiratory center knows with all our breaths, when's enough. And it says there's enough. And what it does to get this part of the breath cycle going is it just quietens right down. That chat stops, so it becomes quiet. And when the muscles aren't being told to contract, what do? They release and relax and lengthen. And so this out breath, it's quiet, the breathing center's quiet. The muscles are releasing and relaxing. The chest wall comes down to its resting place. The diaphragm comes up to its resting place. And the lungs are pushed. They get compressed gently, and the air flows out. And then there's this little pause, the rest point. And at that point, I'll just show you. The ribs have come down, and the diaphragm, which sits here, is just, both of them are resting. The ribs normally kind of want to spring out, so they're pulled in, and the diaphragm normally wants to come up. So it's kind of a bit of a tension between the two, but this is the point of least effort for the whole system. So that, and our bodies love these balance points where there is the least effort and it's just resting. That's the point where there's the least work going on in this whole breathing system. So we breathe in, lots of chat down from the breathing center to get the muscles contracting, to lift the rib cage, to bring the diaphragm down. The lungs expand, the air flows in. The respiratory center says this is it, enough's happening. quietens right down. The muscles all contract, release, they release and let go. And then we come to this rest point, and then it starts up again. And the other thing that's going on the in-breath and out-breath is we also have the autonomic nervous system, which is made up of the sympathetic nervous system, which is about being active, doing, you know, the efforting that we do to live our lives when we need to. And in the activation part of that system is the sympathetic nervous system. And so, again, these systems are in balance. You know, there's a bit more sympathetic, a bit more parasympathetic. You know, it's just this flowing. So on the in-breath, there's a little bit more flow of the sympathetic nervous system, that activity, that everything, that expansion. And then on the out-breath, the parasympathetic nervous system comes in, which is about release and letting go. It's about our functions and letting go. And so that becomes a bit more prominent on the out-breath. So, and then back down to the rest point again. So this is the breathing cycle that we have in us, that's available to us. And it's very, we have some voluntary control over it, but it's baseline, it's just there. This body knows how to breathe. So again, I think we'll do a short breathing practice if you'd like. So if you again like to take that position that for you holds that balance point between effort and ease. And again, that can be lying or sitting. And you can lower your gaze or close your eyes, whatever works for you best. And becoming aware of the body here. You know, we go off with our thoughts and what needs to be done. Our minds, the nature of the mind is to think. There will always be thoughts. Emotions arise that are prominent. Just knowing these are here and coming into the body that's also here, right now. With its simple sensations of temperature, pressure, movement, and density or lightness. Just feeling the points of connection with the earth. That may be in your feet, your seat. Maybe you can feel your back against a chair, or if you're laying down against the bed or floor. And then coming to feel this breath moving within the body. And this time, just have a very wide focus for this breath. It's like we're going to be a biologist in a field, just watching this particular environment. And we don't want to do anything with the breath. There's been, you know, I've talked a lot. And we can just let all that go. We're just watching. Quietly watching this environment. It can be a bit shy sometimes when we pay attention into it. How you breathe is just fine. There's so much leeway in this system. It's a very generous system. You can even take a bigger breath and then have a longer, slower breath out. That can sometimes be quite settling as we start into practice. And just noticing this in-breath. The diaphragm comes down on the in-breath and the abdomen often comes out. If it doesn't come out for you, then that's no problem. It's just what's happening. If you want, you can even rest your hand on your tummy and your chest. On the in-breath, there's all the muscles are contracting, there's effort. There's a sense of expansion, spaciousness as that whole rib cage expands and the diaphragm draws the lungs down. and air flows in. Just feeling that. A little bit of effort, sometimes a bit of tension on the in-breath or a sense of stretch, which can feel pleasant or not. Particularly on a deeper breath, we can feel that. Again, if you feel like it's your pain, sometimes we can tighten our attention, just widen out. And at any time, if anything feels a bit much, you can always open your eyes, look around, widen to the body, notice where you are. Choose a different anchor. So feeling the in-breath. And notice there's a little turn in the breath when it changes to the out-breath. And there's this out-breath, letting go. Muscles are just letting go, system's quietening down. Nothing to be done. In-breath has a bit of work attached to it. There's a turn. The out-breath, nothing to be done, letting go. The muscles here actually letting go. This is the felt sense of letting go. Just letting it slide down. And then there's that rest point, which may just be like a brief turn, or there may be a pause there. Very individual, changes over time. Just gently watching the breath with a wide, spacious attention. Nothing to alter. Just breathing here. This body knows how to breathe. Maybe feeling the breath like a tide coming in, wave gently coming up, and turn, going back down, releasing, letting go, like the water at the seashore on a gentle day. You can even just widen out just to the body sitting here, nothing to be done. And let go of any paying attention, just being with the felt sense of breathing here. Feeling it. And when you're ready, we'll just finish this practice. Maybe taking that deeper breath and bringing the gaze up. And again, just take 1 minute to jot down anything that you notice. 10 more seconds. And again, if anyone would like to just say anything they've noticed. You can either do that on chat or just unmute yourself. There's a comment, posture improved as settling into the breath. Yeah, the body's very connected, and it can adjust itself. Like I noticed towards the end, I just noticed my shoulder blades just shifting back slightly. They've been kind of forward because I'm interested and engaged, so you know, I'm coming forward. Someone's a loud rattling sound, a timer. Yeah, I didn't have a timer on, so hope that stopped. Became more embodied, outside stimuli vanished. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We've become the interiorness of us. Like an unpacking of your organs needing more space. Yeah, spaciousness can come in too. Yeah, there's a fan. Has anyone got a fan on? Could have been a car outside. The house is right on the street. Okay. Everyone can hear a fan sound. Oh, I'll just mute. I've got you all on mute. Okay. All right. I hope the fan sound's not too distracting. Noticing primary emotion more, though it's tough going. Well, just bowing to when difficulty arises in our practice and finding ways to gently stay with. So, and finding also, you know, if you're getting tired with something where it's tough, just finding a different place to rest, whether that's with sounds or with a different part of the body. All right, so I just want to move on now to the last bit where we're just going to look a bit about how we do this sort of micro bracing in our life. So, you know, like holding the pen and just, you know, I don't need to use all that energy. But if I've been rushing and then I sit down, I'm still in that rushing state even when I've sat. But noticing it, I can have some agency in it and release it and not use as much energy and free up the breath. And admittedly, I'll come back to gripping again within about 10 seconds usually. But, you know, over time, it might go out to 12, 15 seconds. And, you know, and so we lengthen these spaces. So I'm going to get you to do a little practice that involves a stressful moment. And I'll get you to choose one that's not at 10 on the Richter scale, because when we go to those high places, it's very hard to learn because we're kind of in our fight, flight, freeze mode then. So go to something that's kind of irritating, annoying, or has been a bit upsetting. And that could be something like, I just get home from work, I said I'd get the milk and turn the car off, home, and then, oh, I've got to get the milk. Actually do have to go and get it. Or late for work, rushing to leave, open the door, dog goes out, he's on the street looking back at me going, we're going to play that great game where you chase me. And I'm going, no. You know, so these sort of stressful moments. So if you just, again, want to take that posture that works for you and lower your gaze or close your eyes and bring to mind one of these moments. Maybe even here now where there's some annoying sound, or something today with someone, or it doesn't have to be the right one, just whatever's there, but making sure it's not too big, and if it is too big, just opening your eyes and regather, letting it go, knowing you're here. And so bringing that situation to mind that has some irritation, annoyance, maybe anger, sadness. Notice where you are, the time of day, the environment you're in. And if there's someone else there, what's being said. So you're back in the picture, and notice how we can bring these pictures online, and also sometimes they just disappear and it's all just, nothing's there. And if that's happening, then that's fine. And maybe you can work with that as a difficulty or not. And so just noticing what thoughts are here. This shouldn't be happening. Oh, this is so annoying, or you're so irritating. Why don't they understand me? This isn't how it's supposed to be. The sort of thoughts that can arise. And notice also the emotions that are here in this difficult situation. Maybe anger, irritation, overwhelm, sadness, grief, whatever is there. Or there may be not much. Again, it might fade as you come in towards it, no problem. Just noticing that. And now notice how the body is, and bringing that feeling in, maybe it's anger, and bringing it into the body more, and noticing, and you can even exaggerate the posture. So it might be grumpiness, it's kind of a hunchness, anger, or sadness, that sort of collapsing down. And just exaggerate this posture of this unpleasant feeling in the body. Being with it, maybe there's some expression on the face as well. Feeling what that position is in the shoulders and the chest and the abdomen. And then just notice the breathing in this posture. Notice what it's like to breathe from this place. And then just releasing and coming back up to a posture that's holds that balance between ease and alertness, so that we're ready, easeful. Might even want to have a bit of a shake. Open your eyes to know where you are. Let that situation just disappear, go. We're just back now to being here in this room. You can check it out, the room you're in. We're not in those thoughts. We're just sitting here in this virtual space together. And again, you can lower the gaze or close the eyes. Feeling into this body here again, in this moment, the same and different. Feeling these points of contact with the earth, the gravity that is there for us, pulling us down into this earth. That sense of pressure, and maybe some tingling. Feeling this whole body. And coming into noticing the breath. Again, like that biologist, just gently watching, just kind of maybe even just enjoying the environment if that's there, or just observing the environment. Feeling that breath coming in, that activation, the muscles, a bit of effort in the muscles there, the rib cage expanding as the diaphragm lowers, spaciousness as the lungs expand and air comes in. Maybe a sense of tension and stretching on that in-breath, maybe a sense of just spaciousness, the turn of the breath, noticing the out-breath. Everything becomes quiet here. The muscles themselves are just letting go. This is the felt sense of letting go on this out-breath. Maybe other parts of the body just release on that out-breath also, maybe the jaw or the forehead, other muscles that are held or not. And feeling that turn in the breath, that rest point where there's that balance point, the point of least work for the breathing muscles. And then the in-breath begins again. Just this tidal breath, gently moving in, turning, receding, letting go. Slight pause, efforting again, expansion, spacious, turn, releasing, letting go. And that oxygen that we're breathing in is breathed out by the trees. And that carbon dioxide we breathe out is breathed in by the trees. This great cycle that we are part of is also available to us here. Just widening right out till you're just allowing this body to breathe. Thoughts and feelings arise, noticing them and gently bringing the attention back into the felt sense of this body sitting here breathing. Letting go of thinking of breathing and just being with this body that's been breathing since we were born. And as this practice draws to a close, maybe taking a deeper, more intentional breath in and a longer, slower breath out, and bringing any movement into your body that feels good for you. So, again, just take a minute to write. And I'll tell you when there's 10 seconds left. 10 seconds. Actually, it was 5, but you can have 10. And just finishing up. And again, if anyone wants to comment on anything they noticed. Anyone wants to unmute, they're welcome. Or you can type into the box, whatever works for you.
Hi again.
Hey, Kev.
I suppose
Welcome.
one thing I was noticing was just the effortlessness, you know, of breathing, and you know, we say I am breathing. However, it seems to be going on without I being involved. Was just sitting with that.
Can be quite a relief, hey?
Yeah.
Because I can get quite busy.
Yeah.
Or quite worried or quite whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had to organise our breathing.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah. And we can leave it to our breathing centre deep in our brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice observation.
And thank you for the practice. It was lovely.
Oh, thanks. Lovely to see you.
It was beautiful. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jenny. Nice to see you.
Thank you. But I kept having this sad image coming into my mind of the picture on the news about the lungs of the world being destroyed and burning up.
Yeah, and isn't that just, yeah,
so sad.
It is, and
what we are doing.
Yeah. So let's just, I think, you know, let's just pause with that also, because, and I was aware of that as I was offering, you know, the tree.
Yeah.
And yeah, sadness is here. And hold the wonder and awe also.
Definitely, yeah.
And that's, you know, pay homage to that sadness, and
yeah.
it rises and changes. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks.
Okay, we've got a helicopter this time. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what that noise is. So we're just finishing up now. Has anyone got anything else they just want to say? Oh, someone's come on.
Yeah, that's me again. Yeah, just to thank you. That was a really beautiful session and really great for a Sunday night.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and this has been very relevant in my life. And I just want to offer as we close that we do have, you know, when we're doing things, we do tend to brace a bit, and we need to, because we're lifting or we're moving or we're using our muscles. And we also have a system where we can just let it go. So just in your day, notice this is the practice of just bringing a half a breath. I'm offering you the kind of one of the shortest practices on offer, the exhale breath. So if you're driving, you know, often I'm driving like this a bit, and then I notice, and when I'm doing this, my tummy's tight as well. You know, it's like it's all involved. My neck's tight, my forehead's tight, and just even noticing and going, oh, you know, it's such a different way to drive and takes less energy and actually feels so much better. So, you know, it's really ordinary practice. It's half a breath. And if you don't feel it, keep practicing anyway. Because eventually, can become. And if we take it in the small moments, really important to practice with, because the big moments are often too big to grab. And if we stitch more of those small moments together, it can really help us. So I hope this has been of some benefit to your practice and will unfold for you. And thanks everyone for your participation on a Sunday evening. Go well.